Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, aloha, depending on what time of the day you're seeing this. I want to give a shout out to my mentor, Gary V. Thank you, Gary V, for posting your videos and inspiring me to create the school life content, the free content that's going to be started today. My name is John Anthony, and I am a father of two boys. I'm a husband to a beautiful woman. I am a entrepreneur. I'm an investor. I'm a consultant, um, ex-military, and I'm a small business owner. And today, I'm starting my first video in the school life. What is the school life? Why school life? SOL. A lot of moments in life, where you feel like, oh crap, I'm shit out of luck. These are times where we can grow. Times where we can take the school of life and grow from them. And there's a lot of content out there, right now focused on how to be successful. I don't know. There's a ton of content, I guess, designed specifically to, talk about failures that people go through along the way. People always want to brag about their successes. I'm here to brag about my failures. This how-to school to life video will be just lessons that I've gone through in business and in life and different things that hopefully others can relate to, and maybe take away something and maybe learn and maybe not make the same mistakes I've made in their adventures. That being said, today's our first lesson of the school of life. It will be talking about triple net leases. In the commercial aspect, as far as small business owners. Most business owners don't own the buildings they go into. They get some sort of a lease. A lot of common leases are triple net leases versus like a gross modified. A little bit about who I am, very quickly. I started my entrepreneurship when I was 12 years old. I got my first job as a paper boy. Quickly grew that to 2, 3, and 4 accounts, and with the help of my family and my brothers and some friends, at sometimes after school on the weekends, I had 3 or 4, 5, 6 routes, and I was making a couple $100s a month back in the 90s as a 12-year-old, and I was hooked ever since. I've always loved money and the idea of making it, and so here I am. So without further ado, today's lesson is about triple net leases and some recent experiences I've had that hopefully you guys can learn from. Some failures. One of my first failures, most recent failures actually. So triple net leases are basically a type of lease that landlords offer to tenants as basically a way to include all of their expenses that the building incurs to the tenants. They basically buy the building, and they have really very little overhead after buying it, and making sure they can service the debt on it. They usually include things like property taxes, lighting, a landscape, waste management, irrigation, water bills, and other things, and other maintenance fees. Now, the hard part about these types of agreements with a landlord is that as a tenant, you don't have any say in these things. So, for example, one of the big items, property taxes, that is on net leases that I've been experienced with, and I'm experienced with currently. Property taxes is one of the biggest portions of these. And property taxes is based on the value of the building that the owners own. They own the building, they get all the benefits of that, and the property taxes are directly related to that. And so if they do improvements to their building, if they take their $1 million building and they improve the value on it, and they increase the square footage, and the total building is now evaluated by the city at no knowledge to you, or now that building will be reevaluated at a higher value, $2 million, whatever they assess the value at for the value in your property taxes. Your cost of doing business now as a tenant there will have to increase based on your lease, whether it was negotiated that way. So in and of itself, it's basically a blank ticket for landlords to do whatever they want to their buildings and improve it and increase all these values, and go ahead and pass those prices and costs on directly to the small business owners. And you see it all the time with large corporations that buy, depressed strip malls or depressed business complexes. And what they'll do is they'll go through and they'll put in maybe a new roof, or they'll repave the whole area, and they'll do things to the common area that makes the whole value of the building increase. Maybe they do new siding, or they put in a bunch of different things, and what it does is maybe it affects your business and makes it a little bit more attractive, but what it does for their investment is it makes the entire investment way more attractive for their investors and for their shareholders, or for their private, for their private parties. So again, just giving you some background on what a triple net lease is for those of you who may or may not know what it is. Just a little bit of background versus a gross modified lease, where you just pay one payment to the landlord and he figures out all of his bills and you just make one payment. Okay, those are some of the two most common options. There's others, but those are the two that I'm, just kind of talking about today. So why this video came about today and where this became a failure for me recently is we own one of the businesses I'm a majority owner in is the best little sandwich shop in Northern California. This specific lesson learned was in Anderson, California, with our landlords and Jazz Paul and his son Isher and Devin Gill. They are a large family up north, and they own many gas stations, many convenience stores, and they have monopolized the gas station market and convenience store market up in the Redding area, and they own a huge chunk of them, probably close to 80%. I don't know the exact numbers, don't quote me on that, but it's a large chunk, and they're very affluent in the community, and they're very successful. They have tons of resources, tons of money, and they sell basically all the gas to everybody in Shasta County. Their family owns all the Arco stations, several Chevrons, and other small units as well. And they came to us a couple of years ago with a space to open up a business in. And they came to us saying, hey, somebody had just left they want to leave our space. We want you to take it over. We think you guys could do well here. And, this is the opportunity. It was a turnkey business for us, and we were in growth mode, and they were giving us a bunch of equipment. It was a huge build out that somebody had spent money on before. Negotiated a horrible lease where it was way overpriced for the area, and but when they approached us with it, we basically couldn't make any adjustments to the lease. We had to make a choice to take it or leave it. Was what we were given. We were given those two choices: take it or leave it, and we chose to take it. We chose to jump on it and to make an effort without going through the lease very well and reading some of the fine print that the other tenants signed. The original tenants signed a 30 or 40 page lease agreement. We signed a 5 or 6 assumption agreement that wasn't very long, not a lot of details in it. And again, that was my fault, my failure for not reviewing everything properly and not doing a better job up front of negotiating, right? So that's where this video comes to, is there's obviously going to be a lesson learned here. So fast forward to our first few months of being in there, I negotiate. We end up taking over the space. We negotiate to get in there, and we start realizing that there's a problem with the lease, specifically in the CAM charges area. The CAM charges are the common area maintenance charges, things I talked to you about that usually include things like property taxes, lighting, landscaping, waste management, irrigation, water, whatever you want to call it, other things, maintenance fees, beautification, anything can be put into their triple net if you agree to it. Any number of things can be in there, but those are some of the most common things. And so they started reaching out to us about these extra fees. We negotiated, again, not a good deal up front with the the lease. That was our fault for not going through it. But as soon after being in there, we request to sit down with these with the three landlords, Jazz Paul and Isher and Devin Gill. And my concern was very simple, that this lease is not a win-win. It's a win for you guys as the landlords, but it's definitely a lose for us as the tenants, because everything in here is based on you guys winning. And they had just built this building. They were adding new things to it, adding car washes and improving the building, and these things affected the property tax value, which was grossly affecting how much they were saying I owed extra. And I wasn't getting any value from them buying a piece of land and putting a $5 million gas station complex. That doesn't benefit me in any way, shape, or form as far as being able to, I mean, yes, having the opportunity to have a business there, yeah, but as far as owning it and any of the benefits of owning that land, there was nothing. As a tenant, you don't receive any of those typically. And so we sat down with them, and during that meeting, we discovered that they made concessions at that meeting to me at that time, all three of them, that they had grossly overcharged my CAM fees by about 90%. What the number that ended up, what I wrote down with my notes was that I was going to end up paying 10% of what they had proposed I was due. The actual numbers that I owed based on actual fair calculations was 10% of their fees. So they were overinflating and lying about these fees by 90%, okay? So again, huge red flag there, okay? Huge red flag. So I leave that meeting feeling good, like we had met resolution. I got, everything is fine. Fast forward about a year or so, I get a text message from them asking about these outstanding CAM charges that are almost 20 grand for 1 year. And I'm like, excuse me, that doesn't seem right. We got to have a sit down. And I asked for a sit down with these guys about these charges for 2 or 3 years. And every time I asked about it, they didn't want to sit down. They never responded to my text about doing that. And they just chose to ignore them. Again, I'm thinking, okay, they're collecting my rent out of sight, out of mind. Obviously, there's nothing wrong. They're still collecting my rents. We have a good relationship. Everything is fine. We follow each other on Snapchat and social medias, me and Isher, and we talk back and forth, and no serious issues ever came up. Rewind to October, November of last year, December, I guess, and I get something in the mail saying that they're trying to sue me for $60,000 worth of CAM charges for 3 years. And it blew me away. And so I reached out to them immediately, and I'm like, hey, we have to have a sit down. We need to talk about this. We got to talk about this. We're a small business. This is a small town. And this was a couple months. This was back in February, I guess, or January, maybe, when we sat down with them. And this COVID thing was happening in China. It hadn't really hit America yet, but I'm ex-military. I do a lot of research and stuff, and I knew that what was happening in China. I knew what the SARS virus was capable of because we've been exposed to briefings on it years ago in the military, and I knew the potential for deadliness. So we're sitting down with these guys back in January. We're trying to negotiate with them, and only one of them comes to the meeting, as it was. The other two didn't even want to show up, and so we tried to negotiate these CAM charges, and long story short, they wanted to press the issue with the lawsuit. So we're just choosing to walk away from the space. We're going to end up closing that business because I don't want to fight them on these CAM charges. I'm going to end up having to take them to court and go other ways as far as being able to correct this in the future. But the takeaway from this is that and it all started because the CAM charges are them overinflating and them expecting that they gave us an expected number of what the fees were supposed to be, and when they did their improvements on their building, their evaluation of their property taxes went through the roof, and it really grossly affected what they were trying to charge us for our space there. And the lesson learned, closing the business is unfortunate, but we will open up more businesses. I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm concerned about the people who lost their jobs and that no longer I'm employing because of it, and that's why there has to be a lawsuit, because they've now hurt families I grew to love and care about, people that I've known for years that are now out of work because these landlords just lied. And so at the meeting that we sat down with, we didn't get any resolution. They actually made some promises about moving forward and our lease prices moving forward with finding comparables that they didn't end up holding to their word as well. They lied about several things, and that was back in January. So fast forward to today, a couple of days ago, we closed the doors for the last time. And the takeaway from this, though, is that triple net leases, if you don't know what they are and you go into them under the you know, just under the, I guess, naive notion that the landlords, you know, want your best interest. You might have a landlord that wants to actually see you be successful, but a lot of these businesses now are becoming so corporate that the bottom line is the most important thing, and each asset being able to make certain margins and to meet certain margins is becoming what's the driving factor in America and capitalism. And you know, Karl Marx discovered this, and you know, there was a Google Talk video about, you know, just maybe a better way as far as society is concerned and how corporate America is driven. That's a different video altogether. So, you know, where do we go from here? How does it impact others? I hope that if you are looking at a commercial space, you look at the triple net aspect of it more carefully. There's other ways you can negotiate as far as a gross modified rent, and there's other ways where you can structure the landlord getting, if it's a fair price, what he's asking for is another way of structuring of how he gets that money and what you're owed versus a triple net. And a gross modified lease is what I'm gonna share with you as far as I don't know if it's the right term everybody calls that, but basically it's where you would take on the on a year, on a fair year's worth of average CAM charges. You take the total amount and the property, you know, rent for the space, and you combine those, and then you divide it, and you pay that full amount over a year, but you break it down. So it's a little bit more than the rent would be because you're including the monthly CAM charges monthly, but it's agreed upon in the beginning. So that way, if they end up getting a huge improvement to their building and it increases their property taxes, yes, their fees go up, and you know, their cost of business goes up because they just improved their building, but you as a small business owner won't be affected because your lease will be all inclusive based on the number you had already negotiated. It won't be subject to a fluctuation as we've just experienced. And so if I can encourage anybody moving forward, the goal of this video isn't to scare people from opening up businesses or to scare people from not trying to be a small business owner, but be smart about it and use my failure, my school of life lesson number 1 today, and make it be your school of life lesson. Make it be your lesson that you can apply to your adventures in the future, or maybe even things you're working on right now if you're in negotiations, or if you're, you know, if you're at that stage where you're trying to make that jump into a commercial space. And again, this is just my 2 cents. Everybody has their own opinion about these things. I would encourage you to share yours with me. And if you think I'm wrong, and if you think that I'm giving false information, I'm just here to spark debate and to create curiosity within the mechanism, and for people to make their own decision. You know, this is my experience. This isn't going to be your experience. I'm sharing with you my failures. These are my failures in business that are going to affect how I move forward. So moving forward from this, we are never going to be in a lease that is a triple net anymore. They are not win-wins for me as a tenant, as a small business owner. And I'm, you know, so the takeaway from this is that we are going to grow into other locations where they're only going to be in our best interest. So, you know, thankfully this happens when we only have a few locations versus having 100 with the same type of term that could be, you know, subject to this type of volatility. So if anybody has gone through something similar with triple net experiences, please feel free to comment, you know, down below. Please feel free to share this video. You know, there'll be many more videos to come of my failures, so you'll hear a lot more about things that I've had to go through in order to get where we are today. And hopefully this how-to video and this post encourages, you know, everybody to continue to be brave, even throughout COVID. Right now, there is light, and the reason why, you know, I'm excited is because somebody, I had submitted a letter of intent on a space in San Francisco, in Noe Valley, a great space. I submitted a letter of intent a couple of days ago, weeks ago, I guess. Now time flies when you're being quarantined inside for days on end. But I guess a couple of weeks ago we submitted a letter of intent, and asking way lower than what the landlords had wanted. With all this going on, they wanted to meet today. So I'm actually going to get out of this vehicle. I'm going to go jump into, I'm going to go jump in and take a look at this space. And seeing about growing my business, and it'll of course be a gross modified lease. It will not be a triple net, you can bet that. And so it's in San Francisco. So when door closes, there's always more doors open. Do not focus on the doors that close. Do not focus on the mistakes in the past. Best way I can describe it is if you're driving a car on the freeway and it's late at night and something darts out in front of you, and you barely miss it, but you get past it, and it really freaks you out. You're really shooken up, right? And you really can't believe it, how close you came to whatever might have happened if you didn't miss the animal or whatnot. But as you're driving that vehicle, you can't look back at that situation continuously and move forward. You have to move forward and remember what just happened in the past 2 moments ago, and you have to always remember and keep it in your rearview mirror. But the rearview mirror is very, very small for that purpose, and your windshield is very big for that purpose, because if it was opposite and your rearview mirror was super big and you were always staring behind you at the things that almost happened, you wouldn't be able to drive forward in the future at night with a very small window the size of a rearview mirror. So in business, that's very much the same way. That's always my takeaway, is there's always going to be failures, but you cannot look back at those, and you cannot be too hard on yourself about those or too critical about businesses that fail or things that fail. You have to use a school of life, and you have to take away. And people always say, where do we go from this? I like to say, where do we grow from this? Where do we grow from this? And where do we grow from this? And where do we grow from this? So again, happy day to y'all. This will be the first of many. I'll try to, I got nothing but free time. So over the next few days, I'm going to try to put out more and more content and give you guys more and more videos of things that I've failed on. And hopefully throughout this, as people are wondering what they're going to do, people are reflecting, taking a lot of time to really just dig deep and find out things that they really, are inspired by. Hopefully people are taking risk and are looking forward to taking risk, because despite what we're going through right now, I believe in America. I believe in this economy. I believe in this country. I believe in this world. I believe in these peoples. I believe in the humanity. And so I believe that we will get through this. And while things are pretty shitty right now, let's just go out and say it, they look pretty bleak. There's always light, and this will end, and we will rebound, and we will become stronger, and we always do. And we always end up, as a society, as a whole, as a nation, as a world, we always end up progressing, and we always end up moving on, despite many, catastrophes and calamities that we've been through, our parents have been through, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, and everybody, before and after. So be brave, be strong. Do not let your fears paralyze you. Learn from people's mistakes, and learn from people that have made more mistakes than you, and don't make them yourself. School of Life lesson number 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, comment below. People that I'd like to see this, my inspiration people that have been inspiring me to keep doing what they do, is I really enjoy, again, Gary Vee has been like a mentor. I've been listening to a lot of Kevin Hart. He's a great motivational speaker. I love The Rock. I love Ellen. These are just people that have been keeping me and my wife and my family through through these tough times, posting their content, and them continuing just to be strong and be brave. And I feel like a lot of people need that as well. And of course, we need content of people talking about failures, and people who have no fear of being transparent and letting people know what they've gone through. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you took away something from it. And I'm gonna go walk into this meeting now, and hopefully start my next adventure as far as opening up maybe a new deli, a new sandwich shop in the heart of San Francisco. So stay tuned, more to come. Thank you.